Hi, everybody. My name is Mrs. Chan, and I am mom to a young man who has autism. My son's name is Nikki, and he's 28 years old. He spent a lot of time in public school settings and then spent a lot of time in a residential placement where he got the help that he needed. My son's autism is one that also has intellectual disabilities, so Nikki needs a lot of help all the time. Because of all of the things that are involved in Nikki's life, I got very involved in my community and especially in activism. There are a lot of laws that protect people like Nikki and help people like Nikki, but there are also a lot of laws that don't exist that should exist to do even more for to help people like Nikki lead fulfilled, happier, safer lives. There's a new law now here in Massachusetts, and it's called Nikki's Law. It's after my son, Nikki. About 6 years ago, during the day when Nikki was at his day program, somebody hurt him very, very badly, and they did it on purpose. Nikki was abused. And when the investigation was going on, I spoke to the investigators, and I found out that even though this had happened, there was no law that existed that would stop the person who had abused Nikki from going and getting another job where he would be able to take care of other people like Nikki. And I thought that was really, really wrong. So I went ahead and I wrote a letter to the senator of the town in Massachusetts where I live. And together he and I discussed what kind of law needed to happen to try to protect people like Nikki. And we came up with a law where a registry of abusers, that's a list of people who have been found to be abusive, is going to be made and is going to be kept at the State Department that takes care of investigating abuse. And what will happen with Nikki's Law is that from now on, whenever an agency wants to hire somebody to take care of people with disabilities, they're going to have to check this list. And if the person that they want to hire is on this list, they're not going to be allowed to hire them. This was a wonderful way to lobby and to be active about changing the laws to make people like Nikki safer. I'm very, very proud of Nikki's Law, and I think it will really, really help a lot of lives. So that was one thing that I've done. But it wasn't something that I did by myself. Activism takes a lot of people involved. It takes talking to people. It takes helping people understand what it is that you feel really passionate about. And you have to do it in a way that people want to listen to. You cannot go and just be the kind of activist where you're yelling all the time and you're screaming all the time or you're really emotional, because people won't listen to you. They just hear your loud voice and they hear you getting upset, and it's very hard for them to understand your message. So I learned a lot of things when I was working on Nikki's Law. I learned about how to talk about the problem in a way that where the message was understood, where the message was really clear. So I did tell the story about Nikki, but my focus when I was lobbying and pushing for Nikki's Law was about how it was going to help everybody. It wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about any other person. I had to come up with a lot of facts about how many people might be abused every year. I had to come up with the data about how many people really are abused every year, and there was some data on that. I asked others who had been through similar experiences to also talk to their legislators. And then as the law became closer to being passed, we had to go into the State House in Boston. We had to give testimony and tell our stories. And we had to really, really gather people up in the community and ask them to be supportive of the law. This process took a really, really long time. It was about 6 years after Nikki was actually abused, before the law was finally passed. So I learned a lot about patience. I learned a lot about how bills are passed. And frankly, a lot of it was kind of frustrating because this was one of those things where I thought, boy, this should be easy. This is so clearly something that's important to people. And I was right. But boy, the process really, really surprised me with regard to how long it actually took to make Nikki's law come true. So, my lesson about activism from my own personal experience creating a law to protect people with disabilities and especially with autism are patience, trying to stay calm and professional, making sure that the message was very, very clear, making sure that it wasn't just my voice, but it was the voices of many people involved who gathered together and added their voices to it. And like I said at the very beginning, patience, patience, patience. I had to talk to a lot of people. I had to write a lot of things. I was on TV many, many times, and I was really grateful to the media for covering the story. If you want to be involved with activism, and especially for people with autism, some of the things that I think you should remember are to always try to get the opinions of people with autism who are able to speak and to communicate so that you understand how a law or how what you're trying to advocate for might affect them. Make sure it's okay with them. Make sure it's okay with families. Make sure that you remain always, always strong, but always, always patient. And like I said, be calm, understand what you're talking about. If you go in and you go to talk to the people at the State House, if you go to talk to the lawmakers, make sure that you practice what you're going to say. Make sure that you have something to give them so that they remember you when you leave. And make sure that you spread the word. Activism is a really, really important thing to do for people with disabilities, especially people like Nikki, because Nikki, because of the level of autism that he has and the level of intellectual disabilities alongside that, is not really able to speak for himself. So when other people have to speak for you, having a very clear message and making sure that the message is one that's important to people with autism is really, really important. So best of luck to you. I know you can do it. I know that it might seem scary. Sometimes it might seem fun. And you know what? It is all of those things. Most importantly, it changes lives. So if you decide to be an activist, there are some tips on how you can do it and how you can do it well. And always turn to the people who have done it before you. And when you're done, turn around and help the people up that hill who are behind you. We're all in this together. Thank you so much.